Yes, your elitist here. We're saying architects service a limited client base at the high end of the formal economy. The majority of the communities do not have access to the architects to service their needs. The citizens of South Africa, made up of formal, informal, historically disadvantaged and beneficiaries of land, want to access the service of architects. Why can't they access the service of architects? Why is architects only available to the elitists? Why is that? We're then saying the industry experienced architectural professionals with experience or incomplete qualification service a large client base at the low end of the economic scale. Why is that? Why must I service the low end of the economic scale? Why can't I enter the mainstream economy? We then ask, how do we create economic opportunities for the citizens of South Africa? We then look at the missing middle in architecture. This has now shifted beyond the missing middle in architecture. It's actually gone, we're in a crisis mode now. So we say, how do we fast track regularization? And we're saying SACEP has taken it upon itself to fast track regularization because the universities are not coming to the party. We then ask, the built environment professionals are here to serve the needs of 56,000 South Africans. We've heard that statement. We're saying there are 9,947 architectural professionals who service clients with a diverse background. We're asking, is this relationship sustainable? Can 10,000 people service 56,000, or you did discuss 56 million? Is that sustainable? These are things for you to think about. Right? We're not going to debate the issues, we have limited time. We then say, if government talks of socio-economic empowerment, we then ask, is land redistribution with accountability and sustainability or an inclusive, integrated means to both capacitate and empower individuals from all backgrounds? We say from all backgrounds, to be able to own and manage and grow themselves in and through the economy. We say that the citizens of South Africa want to actively participate in the South African economy, right? But we are excluding them. For some reason, they have been excluded. We then ask the source that provides, this is the problem, people. The source that provides education for architectural professionals are the architectural learning sites. They produce architectural professionals with academic knowledge. Right? And we then say the citizens of South Africa are dependent on that output. We then say architectural learning sites are responsible for producing architectural graduates. That's the role, that's where the role stops. They produce the graduate. Industry is responsible for skilling the architectural graduates. This is where we find many of the architectural professionals who graduate are unable to obtain the mentoring and skilling that they require. We then say the South African Council for the Architectural Professions gives license to the candidates after the board exam to practice architecture. So that's one way of achieving or entering the industry. We're saying then there's another alternative route, the industry route. What stops an individual from going to the industry, which creates work opportunities and provides mentoring and skilling and experience? The South African Council for the Architectural Profession recognizes the prior learning experience of these field practitioners. We are then saying there's the problem here. Architectural learning sites are still developing policies to regularize the formal, the informal learning. This is the problem. We're saying there's two ways of getting your experience. You can go to the university. We now know there's a long queue waiting to enter the university. It's another way. You can go to industry, you can go to a drawing office and someone will mentor you there. But then you need to regularize your informal learning. We then say, do architectural learning sites have the capacity to meet the strategic objectives of the South African government? This is why we're here today. Do the architectural learning sites have the capacity? We're saying 27,000 architectural professionals. How many years will it take the universities to produce those graduates? 10 years, 5 years, 100 years? Are ALSs willing to implement RPL policies and comply with legislation to achieve restorative justice? Okay, we're going to take the word missing middle out now. we're going to include a diverse background of people. Can ALSs restore the dignity of the missing middle in architecture to regularize and informal learning? Is the current architectural learning environment geared to expedite the number of required architectural professors? This is a big problem here, guys. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. This is the problem here. Architectural learning sites. They are controlled and managed by an elite group of people who determine who enters and who remains back. Okay, I'm going to skip now. We're just going to go to one. We say the South African Council for the Architectural Profession. In the Act, it says establish mechanisms for registered persons to gain recognition of their qualification and professional status in other countries. If you can do this for the professionals in other countries, why can't you regularize the informal learning of the historically disadvantaged? Because of the resistance to this. There's a big resistance to the regularization of the informal learning. People are using the word the backdoor route. It is not the backdoor route. We are saying regularize my incomplete qualification, regularize my informal learning experience. We don't want a backdoor route. We know the Department of Education back in the day took those black teachers who did not have the qualification and sent them back to universities to get a proper qualification. This is what we are asking. We're saying we shouldn't be paying for the sins of the past. We shouldn't be paying for the sins of the past. If we're just going to skip, we're going to leave most of it to Yashin. Then we're going to ask the question here. Are we perpetuating the cycle of inequality and poverty in and through the built environment? Can we eradicate the cycle of poverty and inequality? And we're asking who is responsible for the cycle of poverty and inequality in and through the built environment? Who is? Who is responsible for this? We've invited CBE, we've asked the Minister of Public Works, we went to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. No one is coming forward. Why? There's the guy. We've been all over. We're now bringing to you, to the public, and saying, why? Who is responsible? Why are you showing us one demographic and trying to mislead the rest of the citizens of South Africa? This is something I'm just going to touch on. We then say Section 85 of the Constitution assigns the responsibility for developing policy and legislation. We're saying this is where the failures. Government failed to monitor and evaluate the cycle of poverty and inequality in and through the built environment. Legislation and policy incorrectly interpreted during implementation. Legislation and policy properly interpreted but badly implemented. Poor stakeholder engagement with civil society. Selective and biased. This is a big problem here. Government will deal with people who are anti-transformative, and people who are aligned with the transformation agenda of the country. Government does not want to engage with them. Why? What is the hidden agenda behind that? We then say the failure to develop skills and capabilities to support an inclusive growth path in and through the built environment. We talk of an inclusive growth path. So we say all architectural professions must benefit. We then say the conflict with architectural learning sites. We say architectural learning sites fail to transform its architectural curriculum to create enabling pathways for the missing middle in architecture. This goes beyond the missing middle now. We then say architectural learning sites fail to translate the historical injustices of the past into mechanisms of restorative justice post-apartheid by implementing policies of government and complying with legislation. For those who are unaware that government has produced the best policies, has produced legislation, but the universities do not want to implement it. They give us, we've been Joburg, Cape Town, Durban, wherever, they actually hostile to this kind of transformation. We are then saying, fail to facilitate access and mobility and progression within the architectural learning sites. This is why SACAP has now taken on this challenge. But SACAP is being challenged now for doing this. We then say you fail to effect curriculum change in the architectural environment which provides an alternative to colonized architectural education. We're saying South Africa is unique. Africa is unique in that they have a different challenge. We cannot impose Western education in a South African environment to fix the problem. We need to find an alternative. We're saying why don't the architectural learning sites in South Africa or in Africa tell Western countries this is how you must do architecture. You must follow our method of doing architecture, or this is our architectural curriculum. You can say this is the final and last one, volunteer associations, interest groups and individuals. We're saying that certain volunteer associations, interest groups and individuals promote anti-restorative justice syndrome by casting aspersions in the public domain. We have seen this on a number of occasions. We're saying certain volunteer associations, interest groups and individuals fail to translate the historical injustice into mechanism of restorative justice. Post-apartheid by demonstrating anti-transformation agenda with respect to policy and legislation. Government has, guys, there is policy, believe me, that there is policy, there is legislation, Blade and Zamani work this thing out well. People just don't want to transform. We then say that they demonstrate manipulation of the real challenges affecting transformation in and through the built environment and engaging with government for their own personal benefit. We have seen this. For those who don't know, we organized a busload of 40 people to go and challenge certain decisions of the minister in December 12. We then say promote work reservation and market allocation based on unproven assumptions relating to skills and competencies of all professionals in the built environment, especially the architectural profession. We're saying this is a big problem here. Work reservation and market allocation. People just assume that you're incompetent to do the work. There's no tested. This allegation has not been tested. It's just an assumption to suppress the people. Okay.
Thank you, Dinesh. Some takeaway from that, or some more statements. We have researched this, and I'm going to put the question out to you all. Have any of y'all actually tried, if y'all are draftsmen, technologists, etc., to try and go back to university? Has anyone done it? 1, 2, 3, I saw the hands go up very quickly. I've done it. There is no way that any university in South Africa can RPL me. Or you. You have to start from year 1, give up your full-time job, start from year 1, go and fall off to sleep in class, except for maybe 2 subjects, teach a lecturer staff, and then go and write an exam after 5 or 7 years. That's what they want. So, having said that, can you all see income disparity, ring fencing of income, ring fencing of the work? That's where the problem is. So, I made a whole lot of notes here, but I'm not going to talk through that right now. I'm actually going to open up the panel discussion. But before the panel discussion, there's going to be a little statement, I think, from Michelle. All right.
Hi. Okay, I just want to introduce and then I want to leave the floor open for questions to them, and wherever I can answer will. Okay, my interest is on pedagogic transformation in architecture. You know, for redress and transformation, that's what my doctorate was based on. So RPL is something that I've researched extensively. And what I want to just say is that a lot of resistance to RPL comes from a position of ignorance. Ignorance at high level as well, because it hasn't been given enough consideration. One of the problems and the challenges that I find amongst architectural professionals is that we try to understand the universe through architectural lenses. And it's often the way we did things and what we've been exposed to is the way, and there's no other way. So I must say that ignorance plays a huge part in the perceptions, and it's all about perceptions of excellence, standards, etc. So I just wanted to make that statement and then leave the floor open now with their permission for questions and clarity. And I'll clarify technically where necessary and comment. I don't know how you want to, because I know some of the questions were fired at me as well and in my direction. It's not that all the universities are not doing something about it. There are things being done, but not fast enough. And certainly the ones I've been involved with have taken RPL seriously. I used to be at DUT and now at KZN. So there are initiatives to recognize prior learning, but those kinds of strategies are starting to be formulated. But it takes individuals like myself, for example. The transformation starts with thinking before anything else. And you need one or two people to have transformed thinking and to start initiating processes within the formal institutions. So in time to come, well, it's already time that RPL is actually not negotiable. It comes directly from SAQA. If any institution now, I'm also an evaluator for the CHE, Council on Higher Education. So if any application is made to SAQA or the Council on Higher Education or Department of Higher Education Training, that institution for any program has to state what its RPL strategy is with the policy, etc. So we in a situation where the existing institutions, the programs haven't gone through that process because that didn't exist in the past. If every institution in South Africa had to resubmit their programs, the existing ones as a new submission, they would be required to explain their RPL strategy. They'll be required to explain widened access as part of that application, or it will be rejected. Can you see the difference? So I want to say that RPL is about, if you look at pedagogy, if you look at education, context has changed, education hasn't. Thinking hasn't changed. And that's the situation we find ourselves in now. But that's non-negotiable at this point in time. So where do we move forward from here?
Thank you, Yushen. Moving forward. I like that.